So, good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing good. Today, I'm going to speak about Hamlet, Elizabethan drama, and some of the characteristics of Renaissance applied on or in Hamlet. Well, this video is mainly made for second year students. I know normally I should have done this way before, but I couldn't, unfortunately. I had to revise as well, a lot of work. So I hope this would benefit you, or this would be helpful to you. So, like I said, I will discuss some three major points. First of all, we are going to deal with the characteristics of Elizabethan drama. I'm going to give about six characteristics. I think it's enough. And I will move to a short summary of Hamlet explained in simple words, I hope. And then I will apply some of the characteristics of the Renaissance on Hamlet. Now, the characteristics of Elizabethan drama. So, Elizabethan drama was to a great degree secular. It was so secular. The word secular, it is the opposite of religious. Why secular? For example, if we compare with the Middle Ages and the Elizabethan drama was during the Renaissance, and if you compare it with the Middle Ages, you will see a great difference. For example, in the Middle Ages, we had every man as a morality play, Piers Plowman, which is characterized by the dream vision. But both they discuss religion, how to live a good life, what is the truth in Piers Plowman, and the importance of good deeds in every man. So this is related to religion, but Elizabethan drama was so secular. For example, in Hamlet, we can find tragedy, we can find revenge, we can find a little bit of humor at the end. We can find, for example, the humanism, which is a characteristic of the Renaissance era, so and so on. This is the difference between secular and religious. The second characteristic is the rediscovery of classical models. When we speak about Renaissance, we have tendency to say it is the rebirth. It means the rebirth, but it is not sufficient to say it is the rebirth only. The rebirth of what? The rebirth of the ancient civilization. But why the rebirth of the ancient civilization? Because people knew that those civilizations were not influenced by religion, and they did not need to put religion almost everywhere. Religion was personal. It was between the individual and his creator. So the civilization of the Renaissance era wanted to be influenced, wanted to do the same thing. So when you bring back to life those civilization, you do not bring back politics, for example. You also bring back literature. So some men of letters have tendency to say the play of Hamlet existed somewhere else, and Shakespeare, everything that Shakespeare did was to modify, to make some changes in order to make it more beautiful. For example, the wordplay, etc. So this is about the rediscovery of classical models. Some stories which existed before are found in Hamlet. For example, the king who's dead and who was murdered, and his beautiful wife marries the killer of the king. So these stories were quite famous, for example, in the Greek civilization or the Roman civilization. The third characteristic is revenge tragedy. Revenge tragedy, for example, the story starts with a murder, and a relative of the dead king, for example, wants to take revenge for his father or his brother or something. So, and of course, tragedy, because the story ends in a horrifying way. We have, as an example of revenge tragedy, Marlowe, the Jew of Malta. This is quite important, and of course, the best example that we can have is Hamlet. Another characteristic is historical themes. In the Elizabethan drama, we had, a lot of playwriters wrote about the kings, especially the Tudor kings, etc., the Henrican stories, etc. Another characteristic is the fact that women were not allowed to act. For example, if we had a female role in the play, it was a man who, let's say, wore a wig of a woman, for example, and he acts the play of a woman. And the last characteristic that I'm going to give is religion was replaced with reasoning. In Hamlet, for example, he started reasoning. He did not want to act directly when he saw the ghost, or when his deceased father told him that he needed to take revenge. He did not take the sword, for example, directly, and he went to Claudius and he killed him or something. He started reasoning, asking questions. For example, did the ghost exist for real, or it was just or was he like hallucinating or something? So these are some of the characteristics of Elizabethan drama. Now I shall move to explain Hamlet. Hamlet is the Prince of Denmark. His father was killed before the play begins. Hamlet's uncle Claudius took his brother's kingdom and his wife. And his wife, by the way, is Gertrude. So Hamlet lost his father. His father was murdered before the play begins, and the uncle of Hamlet means the brother of the deceased king took the kingdom, and also the wife of the deceased king. So his mother, the mother of Hamlet, married his uncle. Then a ghost appears in front of the soldiers twice. They decide to tell Horatio, and Horatio, by the way, is the friend of Hamlet, the good friend of Hamlet, and he decides to tell Hamlet about the ghost. Meanwhile, Hamlet was with Claudius, and he was being told to stop grieving on his father's death. So Hamlet was sitting next to Claudius, and Claudius was telling Hamlet, "Stop grieving for your father's death." Hamlet used to tell him, "Sure, I will," but deep inside he felt disgust that his mother married his uncle. Ophelia, and Ophelia is not really the girlfriend of Hamlet, but there was a kind of relationship between them. She loved him, and he pretended to love her. Ophelia loved Hamlet and her father. So Ophelia's father, Polonius, and her brother as well, Laertes, they used to tell her, or they were telling her, to avoid Hamlet because he is a prince and he cannot marry an ordinary woman from a lower class. At that time, when a king or a future king, a prince, um, he cannot marry someone, an ordinary person. They had to marry someone from the nobility class. So Hamlet sees the ghost as his father, of course. The ghost tells him that he was murdered. The ghost explained the situation, how he was killed. Then Hamlet got very angry and he decides to take revenge. So when the soldiers were there, he mentions that he might fake insanity. So why fake an insanity, you might ask? Because if you kill someone and you fake insanity, you are not going to be killed. They would say that he was crazy and he killed that person because he was not thinking clear. So Hamlet went to see Ophelia because she returned his love letters. Ophelia stopped sending love letters to Hamlet. Whenever Hamlet sends a love letter, she returned that letter to him. And he went to her house and he looked mad. His clothes were torn apart and he looked so mad. And for example, Polonius. Yeah, when he looked mad, Polonius thought that just a quick reminder, Polonius is the father of Ophelia. He thought that he really loved Ophelia. So the hypothesis that of the fact that a prince cannot love or marry an ordinary woman was false. So Hamlet kept pretending insanity, and Claudius, his uncle, summons friends of Hamlet from school to spend time with him and to find out what is wrong with him. So they brought actors, and Hamlet had the idea to perform the murder scene to make sure that the ghost was telling the truth through the reaction of his uncle. So Hamlet wanted to make a play. So we have a play within a play. So there was a play. Of course, this play was it was a plan from Hamlet to see the reaction of Claudius, to see that he is going to perform the exact murder that he committed, and the reaction of the king would give Hamlet the truth. So if the reaction of the king is like, for example, getting angry or something, Hamlet would know that the ghost was telling the truth and he has to take revenge. So the ghost uh, turned out he was telling the truth, because after he had seen the play, after the king had seen the play, he was angry and he left the place or the theater. Hamlet followed the king to a chamber where Claudius was praying for forgiveness. He was admitting his guilt to God. But Hamlet did not want to kill him, then otherwise he would go to heaven. For example, if you kill someone while he is praying to God, this person would go to heaven. So although he killed his father, still he is going to heaven. So Hamlet withdrew, and he did not want to kill him then. Hamlet right away went to see his mother and to tell her how bad she is, but she was frightened and she started calling for help. And Polonius was hidden behind the curtains in that house, in that chamber, sorry. When Polonius started calling for help too, Hamlet thought it was Claudius behind the curtain, so he stabbed and killed Polonius by accident. Hamlet was sent to England with his friends from school by Claudius. Why was Hamlet sent to England by Claudius? In order to be killed. It was the death sentence, because Claudius sent a letter with them to the King of England to kill Hamlet right after the opening of this letter. Ophelia, unfortunately, she has gone mad because of the death of her father Polonius, and Laertes went to the King Claudius, protesting against him, and he was threatening him to dethrone him, but Claudius convinced Laertes that it was the fault of Hamlet. So so yeah, the death of her father, Ophelia went mad, went crazy, and Laertes eventually was convinced it was the fault of Hamlet. Then, during the play, Horatio gets a letter from Hamlet, telling him that the boat was attacked by pirates. It means that Hamlet never got to England, because it was the age of discoveries in that era. So a lot of people could afford boats, especially pirates, and they attacked this boat and they took Hamlet as a prisoner, but he managed to escape. Claudius and Laertes received a letter as well from Hamlet, and he told them that he will come to Claudius the day after. So they start plotting to kill and make it like an accident, make it look like an accident. Then Hamlet came back to Denmark, and Ophelia died in a stream. She was so insane, and she did something very bad. Some people might think that she committed a suicide. Hamlet was in the funeral, but he did not know that the grave was for Ophelia. Once he realized it, he admitted that he loved her a lot, and he jumped into the grave to hug her, but he had a fight with Laertes, the brother of Ophelia, until they were separated. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they are the two friends of Hamlet from school. They were killed in England because before the pirates could attack the boat of Hamlet, he replaced the letter sent by Claudius with another one telling the King of England to kill them. After the fight, a courtier named Oseric invites them to have a fighting. So this courtier, or this Oseric, invites Hamlet and Laertes to have a fighting match in front of the king and queen. So before the match, Laertes poisons the tip of the sword. The tip is the edge of the sword, and the king poisons the cup or a cup of wine. Hamlet did not know about the poison thing. Hamlet gets the first hit, and King offers a pearl, something with value, a jewelry, to Hamlet, and he threw the pearl inside the cup in order that to push Hamlet to drink the poison, but Hamlet refused to drink, of course. Hamlet gets the second hit, and his mother, Gertrude, picks the cup and starts drinking, and yeah, meanwhile, Laertes hits Hamlet with a poisoned sword. In the scuffle, it means while they were fighting, they exchanged swords, and Hamlet wounds Laertes with the same poisoned sword. Laertes confesses to Hamlet for the poison, and he told him that both of them are going to die. And of course, Laertes admits or blames the king for such things, and therefore Hamlet picks up the sword, and he wounds the king, and he obliged the king to drink from the poisoned cup of wine, and Laertes dies, saying that he was sorry. Hamlet asks Horatio, his good friend, to tell the truth, and Hamlet dies as well. Fortinbras, it was the Prince of Norway. Fortinbras was killed by no Fortinbras' father was killed by Hamlet's father, and for example, we can say that the situation between Norway and Denmark was very bad. There was a war which was about to start. Fortinbras, a prince of Norway, arrived with his army to visit Claudius, the new king, and sees all the royal family is dead. Therefore, he claims the kingdom. He took his revenge so peacefully and to himself. So this is the short summary of Hamlet, the important events, the important things that happened that we need to know in general. Now I shall move to the characteristics of the Renaissance applied on Hamlet. So the first characteristic that I'm going to apply is first is the classical and or the classic antiquity. Sorry, it refers to the classical, the Roman and the Greek stories. For example, if you go back in time to the ancient civilization, we might find stories which are similar to the story of Hamlet. For example, the king gets murdered, and his son seeks revenge, and usually the murder came from a relative, someone who was close to the king. The second characteristic is humanist philosophy. Humanism in Renaissance, we can find that in Hamlet. In Act 2, Scene 2, Hamlet says, "What a piece of work is a man." You couldn't say this in the Middle Ages. In the Renaissance, people were given value. Individuals became important. This is the second characteristic. The third characteristic is religion. Religion in the soliloquy, to be or not to be, that is the question, the famous soliloquy. Speaking of an unknown afterlife, unlike medieval religious ideas, hell or heaven. If you go back in time as well, in the Middle Ages, people knew that after their death, they are either going to go to hell or heaven according to their deeds. But in this era, the Elizabethan era, the Renaissance era, people started reasoning, right? And then we have the fourth characteristic, which is politics. During Elizabeth I's reign, a lot of political upheavals took place. And we can see this in the questioning of Hamlet in Claudius' ascension to the throne. Why Claudius has the right to take the throne and not me? And the last characteristic that I'm going to apply is science. This was illustrated with the play within the play, Mousetrap. By the way, the play that Hamlet performed in front of the king and the queen in order to reveal his guilt was called Mousetrap. And this is related to science, to catch, just like Hamlet said, and I quote, "I'll catch the conscience of the king." So he wanted to have a proof directly from the king. So these are the characteristics of Renaissance which I applied in Hamlet, or I would apply in Hamlet, and think that's about it for Elizabethan drama and Hamlet. I hope this is beneficial to you. I hope this is going to help you in your exams. And if you have any kind of question, feel free to contact me. Either in my email box or on Facebook. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, share with your friends, and I tell you, see you in another video. Peace.